Today's episode is brought to you by Patreon. If you're interested in supporting the show, go to patreon.com/JoshuaRevelis and become a $2 backer today and get early access to the new episodes. I'll be leaving a link down in the description to the page, but for now, on to today's episode. You're listening to the Augmented Experience podcast. My name is Joshua Revelis. I'm a student, musician, and a gamer at heart. Join me as I sit down with fellow enthusiasts to talk about what's going on in the technology, business, and gaming world. I hope you guys enjoy. Alright everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Joshua Revelis. I am your host as usual, and welcome to the Friday episode. Obviously this week was a pretty weird, I wouldn't say weird week, but there's just a lot of stuff. Obviously it was a triple upload this week, so first time we actually got around to doing that, but I felt it was appropriate to do it. Today's Friday's episode, and as you guys voted, which I saw who voted for the MicroCenter thing because I knew they wanted me to talk about it. Thanks, Grant. But here with me today, we have a returning guest, actually. We got Ryan Davitt back again.
Hello.
Yeah, we got Davitt back. It's nice to have you back, bud. So we're going to be talking about MicroCenter's repair service, and this is a funny thing because you guys kind of already know how I am with my stuff. I'm very nitpicky when it comes to my goods. Obviously, my tech is the main thing. If something goes wrong, I tend to get a little bit more annoyed. But we're going to be talking about my experience so far with the MicroCenter repair service. Obviously, I need Ryan here for this because Ryan was the main one that was with me when we were doing all this stuff. But I think it's better to give a little bit of context of the story, and then then I'm going to let Ryan go into it a little bit because obviously that's the correlation of how he relates to all this stuff. So what happened was, I think it was on, if I'm correct, it was Wednesday to look at my calendar, it was Wednesday of last week, and my laptop was getting a lot hotter than normal. And obviously this has been an issue I was dealing with before I left college. It was already happening. Yeah, it was already happening like around May 14th when I already left and I brought it home. And I was like, okay, I'm not going to do anything about it. The fan, it's probably just the fan. I just need to work on undervolts in the CPU and things like that. And on last week, I was like, okay, this is very annoying. I'm just going to take it to MicroCenter. So I took the car, took it to MicroCenter, and they told me, well, before that, I was talking to a representative online to see what I needed to do. And they told me, and there was one thing in that conversation that was very interesting that we're going to reference later, was the representative said, well, it may be the thermal paste that's probably dried up in the thing because it shouldn't be getting that hot. It's supposed to get warm, but not to the point that it feels like it's burning your hand. So I decided, like I said, took it to MicroCenter, and then they told me, yeah, we'll take 2 to 3 days, we'll check it out, and we'll text you and let you know what happens. So I texted them back I was texting them like at least Friday and Saturday because it was already like 2 to 3 days at that point. And on Sunday, they texted me back, and they told me that they found nothing wrong with it. To me, obviously, that was a little bit weird because I'm like, why would there be nothing wrong with it? Like, that doesn't make any sense, clearly. And they told me, well, we ran the diagnostics with the 3D software on it, and they said it's not thermal throttling. Nothing's damaged inside, which I care about that the most, that nothing's damaged, and that everything is fine. We just had to clean a little bit of dust out of it. Obviously, to me, that was a little bit weird because I'm like, I don't get how it's not thermal throttling when I look at my ZTU Extreme, or ZTU, but it's Extreme Intel Utility, I think that's called. Intel Extreme Tuning Utility. There we go. I looked on it and it always says that it's thermal throttling when I'm playing, and then I pull it up next to me and I'm like, okay, something's wrong here. So I called Ryan over. I showed him the conversation I had, and we're like, let's crack this bad boy open. Let's check. And before I actually let Ryan go into it, I think this is a little bit more of a mindful thing to keep in mind for people that bought laptops starting last year. When they released the i7-8750H for the laptops, there was obviously a problem because, even though they are mobile desktop CPUs, that's what they're meant for, they are still running close to the desktop's clock speed, at least. They're running pretty close to them. And because of that, they require a lot of power, and they're very hot CPUs naturally. Like, especially when gaming laptops and they're running the full graphics card as well. They're not running a dumbed down version of it. They're running a full, like mine is a full 1060 inside. So obviously, you know, and you're putting it in such, I wouldn't say that small of a frame, but at least a little bit thicker than a MacBook Pro by a lot. And it's still a pretty thick chassis, but it's still going to get hot. And I think that's something to keep in mind, because naturally it's going to get warm no matter what. I'm not going to run a cool machine all the time, but it's not supposed to get to the point that it feels like a stove. So I'm going to let Ryan go over with this one, because you're going to find out how this is interesting on what really happened. So I'll let you go with this one.
So we went and picked it up from Micro Center. They gave us the rundown, basically what they already told us. They checked it. There was no issues that they found. They just had to clean out a bit of dust. We took it back to Josh's place, and we cracked it open using, what was it, iFixit?
Yeah, iFixit.
Yeah, iFixit. We used an iFixit tutorial kind of thing, and we cracked it open, and I brought over some thermal paste, and we popped it off, got the cooling system out, and replaced the thermal paste on the CPU and on the GPU. That is the processor and the graphics processor. And from there, we put it back together, and Josh ran a few tests, and initially it worked out pretty well, but then it started returning back to that kind of level of heat that he had been experiencing at first.
Yeah, like, obviously, one thing that a lot of people noted with the laptop that I use is that naturally it runs hot. It's naturally a pretty hot machine. I think it's pretty weird that it's naturally hot, but what was interesting was that it got to that point, especially when we cracked it open and we saw the thermal paste, and we're like, I don't know how you could miss that. Like, that was pretty dried up thermal paste.
Yeah,
like,
that was bad.
It was really bad. So a lot of people were saying that, HP was probably not putting good thermal paste inside these things, which people were saying, well, isn't this more of an HP problem than a Micro Center problem? But I think the reason it's weird with Micro Center is because when I bought the laptop, and when they even sell you anything from there as well, they give you a 1-year warranty for the parts and a 1-year warranty for labor. So it's covered in warranty and everything if anything happens. And accidental is like, hey, if you accidentally, like, say, break something on your own and it doesn't just go bad by itself, then we'll fix it too. So I bought that. And to me, it was interesting because they offered a repair service, but they don't, like, actually physically check inside of it. Like, I think it's mainly just relying on a software check, and I think this is kind of a fundamental flaw, whether it comes to Micro Center, whether it comes to Best Buy, Geek Squad, or whether it comes to places like Fry's or any local place that does repairs, but they don't actually crack it open and they rely on software. And I think that's probably the direction we want to take this episode, I think, because there's not, in my opinion, I personally like Micro Center a lot. I personally like the times I've been there. Like, I've been recently going back there more and more now because of my laptop, and then buying some stuff I need. Like, obviously you guys saw yesterday and I posted, or really when you guys hear this episode, it'll be 2 days ago when I posted that I got my new thermal pad and everything. It's really nice. It definitely helps out a lot. When I bought that, we bought a mouse for my mom, and then obviously I plan on going back when I decide to build my own PC tower and have the laptop and the tower. And I like my experience so far. I think it's a good place. It's really nice. Like, they have all the stuff you can need. Like, in terms of comparing them with Best Buy and Fry's, you're better off going to Micro Center, because if you're trying to build a PC or you're looking for something specific, they realistically have it. Like, they pretty much have everything. I don't really think there's nothing that they don't carry, really, because it's massive. Like, you just see parts all over the place. And to me, it's interesting because you'd expect that a place that is, that I'd say that dedicated, and even service provider too. Like, they're a certified Apple service provider, certified by Dell service provider. Like, they have all these certifications, yet they don't actually physically crack open the suckers, which I think that's pretty concerning, especially because that thermal paste, like, obviously, yeah, I get it for these laptops. Well, mine specifically, it's fairly hard to get in there. It took, like, a while because you have to take off the whole heatsink, and you have to take off the heatsink just to get to the RAM, which is...
It was about 20-30 minutes.
That's like 20-30 minutes. And that's even if I want to go... Like, technically, if I want to go put the RAM back in, like if I want to put another stick of RAM, I have to crack that open and take off the heatsink in order to get, or at least get close to the heatsink just to get the RAM on. And I think that's crazy, like just to get all that. And obviously, yeah, we put better thermal paste. I don't know what we put on there specifically.
Cryo-rig thermal paste.
Yeah, there we go, cryo rig. So if you guys want thermal paste, probably either that or Arctic Silver or the Corsair one. Either one of those is good. But I think to me what was the weirdest thing was the fact that they didn't physically check it, and that's what they told me they were going to do. And I think that kind of put a sour taste in my mouth because I paid for the service and everything. Like, because I'm going to be honest with you guys, when we bought the laptop, I paid at least close to, I think it was $1,300 or $1,400 because the laptop was $999.99. Lol. It was that, and then I paid for the 3-year e-set for, that was like $100 or I think it was like $100 for the 3 years. And then obviously for the extra $140 for the warranty, accidental. So adds like close to about like $1,400. So we spent that much, and you know it kind of sucks because you know the warranty is gonna run out soon, especially because it's almost a year old. And Micro Center will still help me out of it. Like anything damaged, obviously it's just I have to pay for it because it's not by warranty anymore. But I think that's kind of concerning because they didn't really physically check it, and obviously that's something that we instantly caught. Obviously, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, even when we put the thermal paste in, it's still gonna get pretty warm. Like Ryan told you guys, like I told him that, you know, it went back to that after a while, but I thought it was just because the computer was getting used to the thermal paste, because obviously I'm still, like, when it comes to putting PCs together, yeah, like I have a pretty decent understanding of it, but I'd say in comparison to some of my friends, probably not the best. I still understand when it comes to putting components together and understanding like building budget ranges and things like that. Like I think that's fairly straightforward. Obviously, one thing that's to me I thought was interesting was we had to crack the sucker open to do it, and like obviously Ryan's more used to this. He obviously has done this a lot longer than I have, but I don't know. To me, like what do you think about the situation?
It's interesting that they don't crack it open. It's very interesting that they offer all these warranty plans, but they don't really touch it. They're missing an entire aspect of the computer. They're getting the software side, and they're doing software checks, they're doing memory checks, they're testing the CPU cores with the software, but they aren't actually physically checking it, which is a major issue. It's completely overlooking an entire other half of the computer. And it's a little screwy to say.
Yeah, I'm just adding this a little bit on there just to before I let Ryan keep going. Like I even pulled up the whole upgrade and repair prices too. Like they said that the prices range from like $29 to $69. Obviously, this is mainly focused on upgrading and installing stuff, but obviously you have to crack the things open. But I find it funny how they offer those prices for cracking them open and everything, but they don't do it like when it comes to warranty stuff. So like it says that upgrade and install RAM, case fans, and software apps is $29. That's upgrade and installing. If you want to upgrade and install I/O cards, hard drives, optical drives, and power supplies, that's $49.99 to $59.99. And then upgrade and install for power supply motherboards and processors is $80. And you know, I'm even looking at like other things inside of here. Like I'm pulling it up because it even shows all the prices. I'm just letting this thing load because it's being derpy. Here we go. Service and repair. And like they have all these things like virus removal, custom build PCs, speed up your PC, custom gaming PCs, data and backup and storage, data recovery, warranty repair, computer repair, Apple repair. Like they do all these things like, and obviously computer and laptop or desktop laptop repair is $9.99, so $99.99 to do all that stuff. And they check it. They do full diagnostics and virus scan, parts installation, wipe down of the unit screen. They do all these things, but like they don't really crack it open. And I think that's kind of concerning because that, like I said, that was a pretty big flaw that we caught because it could have got worse. Like especially with the thermal paste being dried up, you should never have dried up thermal paste in your machine. Like I think anybody that knows anything about PCs, dried up thermal paste is not equal good.
That's a bad idea.
Especially because thermal paste, it says realistically the estimated time it's supposed to last is like 10 to 15 years. I don't know, is that BS or?
That sounds about right.
And this one was not even a year old. It was about to hit a year and it was already all dried up. So I'm like, okay, I don't know how they I didn't realize there was cheap thermal paste. I thought all thermal paste was pretty equal, but I think not all things are equal then. That's something new. But not all things are created equal, kids. There's better things, and then there's, trash things. That's just how it goes. I think to me, it was concerning. Like I said, it kind of put a sour taste in my mouth, and I kind of, obviously, I think Ryan, because he came over and helped me. He went with me and everything. We went to go get it and stuff, and we put in the thermal paste and things like that. I think to me, it was just a little bit, it just put a sour taste in my mouth. And I think that's something that, I think it's kind of something that I think Louis Rossmann kind of even hinted at one time. If you guys don't know Louis Rossmann, and he's arguably considered one of the biggest YouTubers that does Apple repairs. Obviously, he's very critical of Apple and everything they do, because when Louis does a repair of any Apple product, whether it be a MacBook, iMac, or iPhone or things like that, he always cracks them open, does a live stream, and shows every single thing inside that motherboard. And he shows the schematics of every single pin and going which pin does each single task. And even Louis Rossmann even mentioned that he's very disappointed in how these companies do their repairs and stuff like that, because they don't really do that good of a job sometimes. If they actually do crack it open and do all that stuff, sometimes they actually might mess it up. And that's what Rossmann does point out, is that that kind of might lead to why companies are relying more on a software rather than cracking them open, because hey, we don't need to touch them, but we're also able to identify what's the problem, because the software is going to catch it and it will tell us exactly, instead of cracking it open, seeing something with our eyes, but it might not actually be the issue. And well, I do agree that the whole transition to software is a nice thing. It's a lot easier because it's able to point out the problems a lot quicker. I think that it still doesn't beat out I'd say the old-fashioned. That's funny to even say that. The old-fashioned way of just cracking it open and seeing for yourself what's the problem. If there's something very obvious, say you fried your CPU. I think that's pretty obvious what the problem is. You fried your CPU, and there's a good chance the motherboard got damaged in the process, so you definitely have to just replace the motherboard and replace the CPU. Now, one thing we did leave out for the thing about my laptop was that, I just realized I forgot about it, was that they told us that if we really wanted to and it was still having issues, we could send it back to Dell. But I don't know, do you want to tell them the thing that you said, Ryan, which I think is pretty interesting? Because I even had talked about it, I mentioned a little bit with the thermal paste that Dell had put inside the thing. Or, yeah, not Dell, HP, what am I doing? But you want to tell them about, you had a thought that you said, well, if they send it,
I'm trying to remember what it was.
It was the phrase where you said, about them shipping it out and things like that. Shipping it back
out. Oh,
yeah,
if they ship it out, they're pretty much going to do the same thing. It's not going to be much different. Yeah,
that's what I said, is, if HP naturally just put bad thermal paste inside of it, the guys are saying that, we can ship it out to HP and get parts and get the paste from them, but I'm why, that's why I said it's really weird, because you guys have I don't even know how many bottles of thermal paste lying around. You could just put something better. I'd pay the $6 and you probably just put some Arctic Silver in there.
Yeah, you're putting the same bad stuff back into the laptop.
Yeah, it doesn't do you any favors, and I think that's kind of it's just gonna dry. Obviously the new thermal paste is gonna last for a while. Obviously I don't think my laptop's gonna last 10 to 15 years, but man, I think it'll still last all my time in college pretty easily, especially when I put more RAM in it. But I think that's something that's a little bit concerning, was just the fact that they didn't really do that much. I still like them, and I think this is kind of, I'd say, a good PSA to, hey kids, probably learn how to work on your own stuff, but make sure you do it appropriately and don't do something dumb, because prime example is Canyon. Yeah, I'm gonna call you out, Canyon.
Oh no.
Yeah, bright idea. Let's overclock the CPU to 5.0 and then fry the thing. Yeah, Canyon, good idea. And yeah, thanks, Gene. You also helped them do it too. So, good job for you guys. Yeah, I did that. So yeah, too bad, guys. You guys are technically honorary on the show now. But I think that's something that, obviously Ryan and them are still helping me figure that out, to learn how to work on these things on my own, because I kind of, I'll be honest with you guys, when it comes to doing stuff on the computer or anything that I'm just not familiar with, I always ask for help. But that's not a bad thing. I think it's always fine to ask for help. If you just don't know how to, I would say if you just feel uncomfortable or not confident enough to do something, I think it's still fine to have someone, help you out. But I think in terms of this entire situation, like how would you describe it, Ryan? Really?
It was just kind of frustrating that they're not really covering the warranty like they should be. They're claiming that they'll give you protection, but when we cracked that thing open, we knew that they had not touched it. Those screws were still stuck in there, like straight out of the factory. Those were machine screwed in. Those suckers were difficult.
Yeah, Ryan was having a little bit of trouble with that. They even left the little sticker that was on there, which, a lot of people were like, get that garbage out of there, because I saw a video of a dude crack it open, and he's like, yeah, take that plastic sticker off. Like, it's not a warranty, because there's no warranty stickers in it, so you can actually just change everything inside of it if you want to. There's no warranty.
Yeah,
I figured that out. That's why there was actually no warranty. There's no warranty stickers.
No, there's not much in there. The only thing was that little plastic cover, which I think was a dust cover for the RAM, but I'm still not 100% sure on what that was supposed to be.
I think it was just a factory thing because everybody took it out.
Yeah.
Like, there was someone that cracked it open and replaced the thermal pads. Like, he literally said, yeah, get that thing out. It actually doesn't serve a purpose. But but I think that is something that's interesting. To me, it was disappointing, but I think, this is kind of a lesson that everybody should learn regarding these services. Like, I kind of at least like Best Buy's approach to it to a degree, that if you get the warranty with them, like if you pay for it and it's a one-time thing, so if anything happens to it in those 2 years, you can just bring it back and they'll give you a new one. Obviously, I'm a little bit against that because if it's a laptop or like say RAM or something like that, PC or something like that, that's a little bit of an issue because it's like, you have to give them your old one. So like they would have to do the whole data transfer and hopefully everything goes well. And I think that's probably just the most concerning part to it. But I think overall, the main takeaway from this is just to be mindful, guys. Like if you have a PC and things like that and you have warranty to places like that, make sure that you check what they actually did. So like if they said they cracked it open, make sure you check those screws, because I think it's pretty easy to tell if they cracked it open or not, because if those screws are very difficult, because no human being is just going to put those back in and screw them as hard as they can. Like no one's going to do that. Like no one.
On top of that, you're going to be able to see the wear and tear of people trying to get the screws out. You'll see it, like if it's a matte black finish on the screws, you'll be able to see the shiny metal underneath it if somebody's actually been unscrewing the screws at all. Yeah,
that's also true. You can also do that. And obviously check, what they said they did. Like if they said that they, like thermal paste situation, if they said that they checked the thermal paste, it's pretty easy to tell if someone put fresh thermal paste or not, because fresh thermal paste is like a little pea drop, so when you put the heatsink and everything on top of it, it's a little bit squished. But if it's not, and if it looks like it's all dried up, I would recommend that this is something that we were arguing about a little bit, me and Ryan, when we went to do it, that whether we should use 91% or not, and everyone was like, no, you should always use 91% rubbing alcohol no matter what. Never use 70, never use 50. Like 91 is the main one you have to, because it's going to get everything off it.
It's going to get everything off it, and it's going to be less conductive.
Yeah, less conductive.
It's safer.
That's why they tell you to use it. So if you're thinking, oh, I can use 70 and get away, no, please don't. Like something's going to go wrong, and I don't want this thing blowing up on you, because we can't have that. But I'd recommend 91%. Make sure you use like a normal paper towel to do it, because you have to scrape it off. Obviously, if you need to put new thermal paste, my recommendations are going to be the Arctic Silver, like the Corsair one, and then what was the one that you put, Ryan?
I put the Cryo Rig. It was just standard Cryo Rig thermal paste in there.
Yeah, so either one of those three is a really good option. Like, a lot of people use Arctic Silver and Corsair because everybody knows who Corsair is. They make RAM, they make computers. Well, they make a lot of nice stuff. Corsair is really nice. But they make a lot of stuff. And obviously, if you can fix it on your own, I would recommend that you guys learn how to do it, especially people with laptops. Learn how your machine, where everything is inside of it. So if you wanted to upgrade something inside of it, or, I wouldn't say really fix something, because it's not easy to fix laptops. Like changing out a CPU and everything, you're not going to find that CPU just lying around. Like you're probably going to have to get it from...
And most CPUs are soldered into laptops nowadays.
Yeah, so they kind of... It's not like the MacBooks where they solder in the RAM, You guys are dicks for that. Oh, God, everybody hates it when they started doing that. They started soldering in the RAM. People are like, thanks, guys. Love you.
That's not nice.
That's not nice. Thank you, guys. Or Louis Rossman just gives them the bird on live stream and just says, here you go, Apple. But I think overall, life lesson... Learn how to fix your stuff, guys. Be mindful of those things. Be safe when you're doing it too. Don't be dumb. Like, ask for help if you need help. Like, if you know somebody that works on PCs, or at least knows how to build them and knows how to maneuver inside of it, I would say call them for help, ask them to show you what to do, really, so that if they're not available, you can pretty much do it on your own, and even find tutorials for doing that stuff, because I guarantee you, like, anything you need help with, there's probably a tutorial on how to do it. Like, people, when it comes to building PCs, they can watch a 30-minute video. Some people are pretty lazy. They don't want to watch a video, so they just call their friends over and build it for them.
Google and YouTube are your friends.
Pretty much. That's also a piece of advice for every college student. Google and YouTube are your friends, especially for engineering stuff. But I think overall, it's pretty much all we wanted to talk about was just our experiences with this. Obviously, very good learning lesson here pretty much is be mindful that, yes, it's nice to have the warranties and everything, but I would say be mindful that, sometimes it might not work out the exact way you think it should. Obviously, I think that they should change it, and at least be more, Micro Center and all these places should be more mindful of checking these things physically, because you never know. You just never know, because there's always stuff that we tend to glance over. And usually things like that can lead to very dangerous situations. Because obviously, let's be honest, if we didn't crack this thing open, we just left it like that, I probably wouldn't have a laptop, because the thermal paste was already dried up, so the thing was probably going to get hot and damage something else. And if it damaged something else, then, I'm going to be out with a laptop for much longer.
Game over.
Pretty much game over. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Thank you, Ryan, for coming back.
Totally.
Thanks for being back on the show. Like I said, we're going to be putting a poll out when the episode drops to go over the topics for next week's episodes, really. And then you want to tell them about the special thing we're working on? Or, so, or do you want me to tell them?
You go for it.
So, what we're doing is that I'm planning a special interview on July 8th. We're planning a special interview with a doctor's degree in biology and one of my professors in college, Mr. Burgess, who has his master's degree in philosophy and doing his doctor's degree in engineering. I believe it's computer science and electrical. My bad. I'm sorry about that. And he's doing that, and we're gonna have an interview with them. Ryan's gonna be with me. He's gonna be running the
got the soundboard going
and everything going, and we're going to be recording an episode talking about biomimicry. So obviously in that episode, during the interview, I personally won't be talking that much because, like I said, I have not that much experience with this. Like, they sent me an article and everything, like, to read about, like, almost like a summed up version of what they're going to do and talk about. Mr. Burgess and his wife, that they're going to be basically running the episode, essentially. And I'm expecting that this might be in the first hour-long episode of the show. So I'm going to put a poll to see if you guys want that interview to be saved for either say not next week, well, depending on when it comes up, not next week, but save it for the week after, or save it for when we hit the 50th and make that the 50th episode special. Either one of those, I'm going to put that poll will go live at the same time, and we're going to see what you guys want. If you guys want it like the week that I do the episode, or save it for the 50th special and post it then. Because like I said, I already have a lot of ideas lined up. So I would be fine with either one. You guys just let me know and vote in the polls. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all the announcements. I think I covered everything. But if there's anything else, yeah, that's pretty much it. So thank you guys for coming back and listening to the show. I thank you guys for your time. Love you guys to death. Please be safe. Don't do anything dumb. Have a wonderful weekend, guys. And yeah, so you want to say, I don't know, do you want anything last thing to say, Ryan?
Know your machines. Google and YouTube's your friend. Have fun.
Yeah, pretty much. So bye, guys. Love you guys to death.